Marguerite is a resident in Ohio and is going to share some of her experience with us. So Marguerite,
okay.
Hi, welcome.
Hi.
Marguerite, glad to have you with us today.
Thank you. My name is Marguerite Proches, as you can see on the screen. I was formerly a high school teacher, and now I paint as a pastime because I don't work anymore. I'm a 6-year resident of a long-term care facility in a rural county in Southeast Ohio. I have a chronic health condition that impacts my mobility and has caused me to need assistance in my daily care. I'm a so-called 2-assist resident, meaning that when I, for instance, get transferred out of my bed and into my power chair, we will need 2 people to do that. I'm involved in advocacy work at various levels. I'm the president of the resident council at my nursing home, and I got involved there pretty much from the beginning. I noticed that the people in my nursing home were not very good at expressing what they liked and didn't like, and I felt that possibly I could be a mouthpiece for them. Now, today we're talking about short staffing, and it clearly impacts our care. Short staffing is a daily challenge. As I said, I'm a 2-assist person, and for transfers in and out of bed or into the shower, we need to use a Hoyer lift. And the state of Ohio requires 2 people to operate a lift like that. Now, if there's just one CNA on the floor, you will just have to wait and see and hope that someone else can come and help. And that is not always very timely. There's a lot of waiting involved here. Now, we were just talking about staffing ratios, and I talked about this with my administrator, who said the staffing is just fine in our building. I'm afraid I do not agree with that. On paper, the staff-patient ratio is 1 to 10. I happen to live in a rehab unit, and our resident numbers shift all the time. And when there are 10 people on my unit, we will get 1 aide. But when there are 19, we also get 1. And of course, that is clearly not enough. And people do not get the level of care that they require. We have a number of regular people in my unit that work. But on a day like today, there were 2 people working my units that don't normally work here, which means that you have to explain what you need, how you would like to have things done, and how you would like to be taken care of. I'm capable of doing that. But what about my neighbor across the hall? She's nonverbal. How can she express this to changing staff? Or people who simply cannot express their needs. What about their preferences? Now, consistency of CNAs and nurses is really important. You build trust with the people who take care of you. Regular aides know your routine and how you like to get things done. And it means you don't have to explain again and again. Let's see. And having fixed staff is not just good for residents. It's also good for the staff itself, because you build relationships and things will be much more pleasant. Now, the kind of care that I need in a day, I will give a little breakdown of that. From the time I wake up, the very first thing I need is a cup of coffee. I will need personal care. I need to be changed. But most mornings I get coffee and breakfast, and I'll stay in bed and read paper, do some crosswords and some other things. This is not by choice. I adapted my schedule due to short staffing. And when I do want to get up for showering and things like that, that is where my care really lies. I require a lot of help with personal care and especially transport. Now, everything has to come together for for having enough people to take care of me. Everybody's busy, and I have to say that the CNAs in my unit work extremely hard. How staffing levels impacts my day-to-day life, I would like to talk a little bit about. And let's just start last night. At about 7:30, I was done being in my chair. I was ready to get into my bed. But it took an hour and a half for that to happen. Now, of course, that's not how it's supposed to be. It got painful to sit in my chair, and waiting is not my preferred pastime. Nights in nursing homes, or at least in mine, are very different from the way the day is staffed. We often have a skeleton staff at night, one CNA, and then we share a nurse with another unit. When I moved into a nursing home, I actually had quite a romantic view of night shift. And I thought staff would have time to talk and to maybe study, all these nice things that you see in films. Well, that's not how it goes. No one sleeps at the same time at night, and it is always busy at night. Okay. Another example that I would like to share with you is about not having the right kind of nurse available. About a year ago, I needed steroids, and I was given a 3-day infusion course of steroids. But on day 3, I was told that there was no RN in the building to administer my next or my last dose. So it would just have to wait until the next day. Now it's a 3-course, it's a 3-day course for a reason, of course. And so I told the person who told me that, that is just not how it's going to happen. You will need to find someone to administer those drugs as they are prescribed. And they did. And when the RN came to administer the steroids, she single-handedly lifted the level of care in the building to a higher level. Now, on paper, there is always an RN connected during the day, at least. That will not mean that it's necessarily somebody who gives direct care. It could also be someone in administration who happens to be an RN. And so you can be creative, or they are creative, I have to say. Okay. Now, one way my nursing home thought to deal with short staffing was very interesting. One night, an aide came up to me and she said, "Would you like to wear underwear at night?" And I said, "You're kidding me, right? What kind of question is that?" So the facility had decided there were too many bed sores, and it would be better if people did not wear underwear at night, rather than increasing bed checks and making sure that people are clean and dry. If you don't wear underwear, how is that better? You'll end up wet from your knees to your shoulders, and then they'll have to change the whole bed. So I don't know. I asked the same aide if this question was asked to everybody, and she said yes. And I was curious to know how many people said, "Oh yeah, just don't give me underwear at night, it's okay." Well, it was no one. No one wanted that. And I must say, I never heard about no underwear at night again. That was the end of it. Now, like I said, I'm able to advocate for myself. I talk to my administration about things that I see and hear. And I feel like since I have the ability to express myself, I might as well use it. There are still many things that don't go well for me. So I wonder how this is for others who cannot advocate for themselves. One example of of someone not really being able to or not knowing how to advocate for herself happened during a resident council meeting a while ago. A resident told us that she was routinely woken up at 3 a.m. to get her morning medication. So I asked her if she liked being woken up at 3. And she said she didn't like it, but she did not want to be a problem. So she just had that happen to her, even though it later on, when we talked about this and it was looked into, she could get her medication at probably 5:30, which sounds a lot better than 3. Let me see. Now, you really have to advocate for yourself. Otherwise, scheduled things are not happening, as this medication, or even scheduled showers and things like that. Okay, let me see. Yeah. Now, apart from direct care, it's also very important that your building is staffed with enough people in different areas, in case, let's say you need to have people in laundry, so there are linens. If you don't have linens, it means no showers. You need enough people in the kitchen to cook the food. And in my facility, we have not had a meal in the dining room since right before the pandemic. And we are always told, oh, we don't have staff to man the dining room. Now, adequate staffing standards means not just the minimum care is being delivered. There are things we would want to have, like conversations maybe, and things besides being fed and cleaned and clothed. And at present, it's just not getting done due to lack of staff. And finally, we have a lot of short-term people in my unit who not necessarily fit into the routine that my facility prefers. So these are people who just came out of the hospital. They have a health crisis, and they use their colites a lot because they need help. And the response is not always forthcoming. Staff are not able to go 15 times in an hour to the same person, for instance. Now, one thing I would think would help greatly is if there was one central person who could answer colites. Because right now, I dropped my pen on the floor. Could you pick that up for me? Or I think I had a heart attack. Receives the same attention. So with adequate staffing levels, the quality of care and health outcomes for residents would certainly improve, and it would mean that the adequate quality of care would be much better. Thank you.
Marguerite, thank you so much for such a powerful statement and for sharing examples and your story. We cannot thank you enough for participating today and for your words of wisdom to all of us, and your advice to all of us to keep pushing for adequate staffing levels. So thank you so much.